Okay, let's take a look at Starship Merchants. I picked this one up in a large part because there was sort of a, hey, this is kind of like XX, but stripped down or something. Well, I don't think it really is. You can definitely see that there's an idea from it, which will come with the obsolescence of the trains or spaceships or whatever. And you can also see where the theme is the same as in 2038, but the game doesn't really play out as an XX game. Let's take a little look at what it is, and somebody brought up a really clever point about it, which we'll touch in a minute, which is essentially the board, whatever there is of one, is just a rondelle. But it's a different flavor of rondelle than most. Most of them you have this ability to move a few spaces. In this, you have the option to either move a space or not. Okay, let's look at what we have for components. I'll pull a few of them out here with these market cards. These are, I should be shuffling these up. I'll probably do it before I play. But these are going to be a couple, these include equipment and pilots. Destination cards, also probably needed shuffling, are going to be locations that you can transport your goods to, and you'll see how that operates within the game. Anything else here? Should probably throw a couple over there. That's money and loans you can take out on ships, and that's duplicates of the cards or counters to reflect the cards for the equipment cards. I'm not quite sure why they use that. In some cases, the game is not very good at covering the rules terribly. And then we have some of these mines, asteroid mines or whatever. And at the beginning of the game, you're going to start with 2 of them on your little company business card. My wife loves this one. Alright. So, the goal of this game is to end up making it around the board and reaching the dock with enough money that you think you can win and declaring a victory. You can only do that once you have 100 credits in your hand and no loans outstanding. Or you must do it if you've reached 150 credits, whether or not you have loans when you hit here. That doesn't end the game though. Everybody else gets to keep playing, and you'll be getting a bonus for each turn that they take while you're sitting in the dock. You also get a bonus for being the first person to go there. Rules for setup here. I remember being a little annoyed by all this, but that's okay. Number of ships. Hopefully it's all the ships, because if they gave me extras, well, the extras are deployed there. Okay. On your turn, you're going to be allowed, and I kind of alluded to this, to move your piece and take an action, or to stay where you are and take an action, or to move your piece and not take an action. You can't stay where you are and not do anything. Each of the 4 different spaces on the board allows you to do different things. In the shipyard space, the main thing that you can do here is you can buy a ship. Each time that you're in there, you're allowed to buy 1 ship, which means if you want more than 1 ship, you've got to stay there and keep buying. This is like an XX game in that you're only allowed to buy the currently available type of ship. So at the beginning of the game, we got Mark 1s, and it's like 2038 in that we have the distinction between tugs and scouts. Tugs are going to be, they're going to have less movement, less energy. They have more hull spaces, and this indicates when it's going to go obsolete or rust. Over here on the Scout, you can see it's got a higher energy of 5, but only 1 hull, and it'll also rust at the Type 3. All of these are the same with one exception. When you get to the bottom of the 2 stack, there's going to be some cheaper Mark II ships that work just like Mark II ships do, but I think you get them at Mark I prices. The price certainly drops significantly. Yeah, it's half price, so yeah. So the tugs are like $10, which is kind of a deal, and it makes up for the fact that in most XX, I'm not sure this is a good or a bad thing, but in most XX games, there's a real disincentive to buy sort of the last one or two of a train that's near the end of its run, as it were. Sometimes everything can fall at once. I'm not sure how big a deal that is with this because the dynamics of this game are somewhat different. Now, hey, you want to buy a ship, but maybe you don't want to pay all that money, or maybe you don't have all that money. You have the option to only pay half the price of a ship, and then you'll put 2 loan markers. And when you buy a ship, you're going to get one of these things. Let me put the ship here. You get 2 loan markers. Now, what those loan markers are going to mean is every time you hit the shipyard, you're going to have to pay half the price of the ship again. So you pay a total of 50% more to take out loans on a ship instead, and you have to front half the cost anyway. This is kind of an interesting option, though, because maybe you can make more money off your loans. My wife and I played 2-player. She didn't take any loans, bought less ships, ended up beating me by making things a little quicker. I thought she had no chance because, you know, I'm so clever and everything that I took out loans. Well, it's not that easy. I have not played this enough to figure out just what sort of the trade-offs completely are. There are other people out there who've done reviews of this. I'm sure they have covered it more. I'm more looking at the playthrough here while I know the rules, right? At least somewhat. Because some of the rules are a little, I'm not sure that they're correct. Okay, let's go to the next step. Right. So that's the shipyard. You could stay and buy additional ships on additional turns. Like with any of these, you can stick around and do the thing some more. I don't know if you can stick around on the dock until the end of the game. The market. What's cool with the market? Well, let's take a look at what it allows. Upon entry, you're allowed to discard and redraw one of the market cards. So you can say, I don't want one of these, and you toss it. We'll talk about those refinery cards in a moment. You have the option to buy a market or refinery card, which could give you a pilot, or it could give you some gear. If you take gear, you get this little, you get a token that matches the gear. I don't know, that's a mining module. I think that's this, which presumably gives you no information on the back except for the price that you get for it, I guess. This gives you one additional, that looks like a hold, so you can hold more goods in it. And that will be covered over here. You're allowed to hold, I thought it was 6 of these. Ooh. But it looks like there's 5 different types, and some of them have additional holds. This is interesting because what's shown on here is not how I played it, and the card doesn't seem to show it that way. Let me show you that card. That's the, I'll tell you, this one, very easy to play this by the wrong rules. The way this is worded, and we were left with, hey, what the hell? The grapples. 2 energy to pick up 1 extra mine. Now, it looks on here like it's the same as the mining module, which means it gives you an extra hold, essentially. If that's the mining module in this picture. I hate picture things. I think that's what they mean to express. If you pay 2 extra energy, you can pick up a mine in addition to whatever cost you'll be paying for a mine to use by using this special tool. And that'll give you an extra hold that you can carry things in. We played it as you could pick up any mine for 2 energy, which was useful for stealing from other people, but I don't think that's how it's worded looking at this chart and being able to think about it a little bit more at this point. Alright, anyway, let's go back to the rules rather than whatever divergence I had. And of course, like with anything, you know, if you want the rules just clearly explained to you rather than blundered through the way I do. There are a couple of people who've done them online on their reviews. Alright, so when you enter here, you have an option of buying one of these cards. You could also buy in a refinery card if they're available. They're more expensive. They'll give you some bonuses as well. The refineries don't become available, though, until someone goes all the way around to the dock. Once someone hits the dock, I think they become available. I may be mistaken, but it's something about the rotation. Yeah, how many of these stupid things are you allowed to carry with you? Okay, it says ships can only equip one pilot and 6 gear tokens. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 5 different types of gears. I don't know how that's supposed to be covered, but my guess is the indications on here have very little to do with what you can carry on your ship. I thought it had said 6. Your pilot, if you take one of them, I guess you can put up here, and they give you certain bonuses. So for example, she'll give you a bonus for, I guess, buying gear in refineries while you're in there. That's kind of a weird thing for a pilot to give, but whatever. Matching maybe some of the abilities on the pirate. It doesn't seem, yeah, I don't know what it... Alright, we'll keep going. So, once you buy a market card, it gets replaced immediately. You don't get to buy another card. But what you do get to do in addition to that is you could spend you could spend 6 to flip over a mine that you have in your local space in front of you. Not on your card and not in here and not on somebody else's space. To flip it over to claim it. It'll be worth more now and other people can't take it. And this is similar to the 2038 claiming idea. And the values actually fit. For example, ice. Ice is valuable whether claimed or not, whereas other things like cinnamon sticks are, you know, they grow more significantly in value. And that's very similar to the 2038 concept, where some of the commodities you want to claim because you don't want to pick them up if you don't claim them, whereas others, and ice is the primary one there, you want to claim because if you don't claim them, somebody else will take your commodities, is the only issue there. Okay. So you're allowed to claim one and buy one of these cards. Each time you sit in the market, if you move into the belt, okay, things become a little different here. This is where you run your ship. Now, running your ship involves using the energy points that your ship has. Now, you can have more than one ship in the game. You just have more than one of these little cards with a spaceship on it and tools and pilots and everything like that. You'll have a certain amount of energy points on a ship. Again, the scouts are a little higher. And in order to do things, you have a little charge card here, or list. If you're picking up a mine, either on your own space, and the first time you move into the belt, the things that are on top of your little business card drop down into here, and they'll never go back here. That's just to prevent other people from stealing your stuff the first time you're out. It costs 1 to pick something up from here. It costs 1 to pick something up from in here. Okay, there's nothing in there at the beginning, but it does get flushed into there occasionally. It costs 3 to steal from another player's local space. So if this guy had an ice sitting here, I could take this aboard my ship for 3 energy. Alright? It costs 2 to do an exploration, in which case I draw from the bag, and I have the option to pick this up and put it on my ship without spending any additional. Now, obviously, if I have this claw thing, whatever the hell that does, it looks like I'd have to spend additional energy to use that. That's not even really an extra hold. That's just an annoyance piece there that can hold something, but it's going to cost me to hold on to it. I can spend time picking things up here. Eventually, though, what I may want to do is spend some of my energy grabbing one of these cards. Now, if I grab one of these cards, that ends that spaceship's ability to pick anything up anymore. I can only operate 1 spaceship per turn that I sit in the belt, so I'll be running my spaceship there picking up some of this stuff, and quite often you do this all in one action. So that, like, let's say the scout is out here. Well, he doesn't have a lot of hold. Let's say this guy's out here. He has 3 hold, and I could pick these up for 1, 2, and then I could grab this destination for another one, and I'm ready. Next turn, I can move into the dock, assuming I only have 1 ship. Now, these cards provide a bonus. So for example, this one will provide an extra buck or euro for every ice that you deliver. You combine that, and that's on that ship, with a pilot's special abilities on that ship. But the refineries, what's bonus about them is they cover all your deliveries. So for example, this will give you an extra euro for every set of berries that you deliver to everyone. And that's deuterium or something like that, but you know what I mean. Okay. So I can sit in the belt, and I basically, if I want to fill all my ships, I have to, or use all my ships, I have to sit in the belt for 1 turn for each ship that I have. There's no real way around that, which is why operating a lot of ships may not be that great. It's not as powerful maybe as in an XX game, because I'm wasting time building those up, and that was something that my wife kind of got an edge on. She got more times around than I did because I was running too many ships. Okay. And let's see what we got here. So the dock. Once you move your piece to the dock, then any unclaimed mines that you have kicking here flush into here. Just to say, if you discovered something or didn't want to pick it up, or had something off your card that you didn't want to use, or whatever, had something you used another turn that you didn't want to use, if you haven't claimed it already, it'll just get flushed into here, and now it's more available to everyone else. Then you're going to calculate out how much each of your ships make and runs, and that's a fairly simple procedure. Basically, you just add the values on these things, but you have to take into account any bonuses you get from these guys or from your refineries. You get all that money, it goes into your hand, you discard the destination card. Hey, I forgot something about destination cards. One of the options when you're running in the belt is you can sweep all the destination cards for 1 energy and dump them here, and you get new ones. Otherwise, when you draw one, a new one comes up. But you may not like the destinations available. But jumping back to the dock, just to keep things as confusing as possible. Whatever destinations you had on your spaceships get discarded now, they're possible for reshuffle. And now if you have any ships that have gone obsolete, and this is something I left alone, they get discarded from play at this point. Let me explain ship obsolescence. So it's a little different from an XX game. It works the same on the purchase and you know, the effect of what obsoletes what. So once all the one ships are sold, then the first 2 Mark II ship moves this marker here, and we're in that era, and now only 2 ships are available. Once all the 2 ships have gone and somebody buys a 3 ship, we hit here. But now all the Mark I's have been made obsolete. And the way you mark that is by rotating this ship little, I don't know, placard. And the restriction on it is you cannot use that ship in the belt anymore. If it's got stuff in its holds or whatever, you'll still be able to bring it to the dock and sell, but you can't make any more runs to pick stuff up. That's pretty harsh, actually. And once you get to the dock and do your sales, it disappears and leaves the game. Okay. Now, when a ship or ships go obsolete on you, you're able to transfer some of the stuff. Up to 1 pilot and 2 gear markers can be traded to another ship, or just kept aside for assignment to another ship later. The cost for a pilot is on the pilot card. The cost for keeping these things is on the back of these counters. It does not always match the cost of the card. So for example, this is both 6, but I found somewhere the cost on the counter is different. My assumption is that's intentional, and they mean that you pay the price on the card up front, and the price to transfer is going to be the different price. It may also be a typo. I'm not about to change either my cards or my counters, though. It doesn't seem to affect much. You still have the same kind of decisions. Now, back to the end of the game. When you land in here, and I've already kind of told you all these rules, when you land in there, if you have 100 or more bucks and no loans, when do you pay off loans? Pay off loans back at the shipyard. We'll touch them in a moment too. When you land in here, if you have more than 100 bucks, or 100 bucks or more, and you have no loans, you may declare that this is the end of the game. You'll get, what is it, 10 bucks bonus? Yeah, you'll get 10 bucks for declaring the end of the game, and then for every turn that you start in here, every time you get a turn and you can't do anything, you'll get 5 more bucks. That puts some real pressure on people to make sure once they're in the belt that they're making quick enough decisions, but that they're mining efficiently enough that they're not just going to be able to keep drawing to try to beat you. If you enter into the dock with 150 bucks or more, doesn't matter how many loans you have, you declare the same thing. You take a penalty paying the amount of the loans that you have as if you were paying them off. Now let's go back to the loans. When you get to the shipyard, once you have loans on your ships, you must pay off, what, 1 for each? Let's go back to the shipyard here. Each time you enter it, you must pay off at least 1 loan on each ship. And remember, that's half the cost of the loans. Now, there's something kind of interesting here that reminds me of the bankruptcy rules in XX. If you can't do so, you pay what you can and you take 1 loan off each ship. What can you do with that? I don't know yet. But that's one of those kind of non-intuitive rules that I feel like is slipped in here to maybe allow for somebody to be able to work out some way of taking an advantage of the system. I have not thought about the game enough to see how much advantage there is, but it is appealing. Okay, and then everybody continues taking their turns. Once they get into the dock, they too will get those $5 bonuses for anyone else delaying the game. Okay, so somebody who takes a long time out here had better be making at least, preferably more than, $5 for each run or each time that they run out there. All right, we'll give a try to this playing it solo. It's really just a decision-making game, so there's no real hindrance to it solo, but there's also not a lot of interest in it solo, in my opinion. It doesn't have the same kind of story that an 18XX does, but we'll see.